Had a beautiful sunset. Got a nice fire on in the furnace behind me. And that's actually kind of important tonight because this morning it was a balmy -9 when I got up, and we had gale force winds all day yesterday. Did a lot of damage, but didn't do any damage to us, thankfully. So I know warm weather's just around the corner, and with it is turkey season. I've always hunted turkey with box calls, and I've made quite a few different box calls out of black cherry, black walnut, sugar maple, silver maple, red oak, white ash, you name it. Had lots of fun doing it, lots of different sounds, and had some good luck with them. I decided this year, I actually watched a YouTube video, and someone said, when you go fishing, do you only take one lure? And I thought, wow, there's a lot of truth to that. So I'd like to try a pot call, a pot and a striker, a friction call. I don't have any slate, I don't have any glass the right size, but what I did come out, I went in my junk pile, and I found a piece of 1/8 aluminum. Actually, it's 120 thou. So I'm going to cut circles out of that, try that as my friction surface, and for the wooden part of the call, the body part of the call, I've got some sugar maple here. It's 1.5 inches thick, and nice and dry. I've had it for a long time. So I'm going to turn a couple pots, and I'll cut a couple of circles out for friction surfaces, and then I have to make the soundboard in the back. I don't know what I'm going to make that out of. I might use aluminum as well for that, but who knows. Anyways, let's get to work, and we'll see what we can get done tonight. So I cut the end off a piece of maple, and I ripped a couple blocks out of it. Aren't they beautiful? You gotta love sugar maple. And I have this as the leftover piece. This leftover piece I'm going to save. I might use it to crown a striker, making 2-piece strikers, because I'd like to make, I think, a couple of strikers out of black cherry. I think that would make a nice contrast with the sugar maple body of the pot. So now I've got to find center, and as I go to do it, I pull out a favorite ruler of mine. Check this out. The Canadian Metal Company Limited. That's not unusual, although it is an old little ruler. Check out what they sold. Solder, Babbitt, lead, sheet lead. Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine today advertising, why, we sell lead? You might have some people upset. This was back in the good old days. I'll bet not many people even know what Babbitt is today. My father used to talk fondly of scraping Babbitt bearings many, many, many years ago. Okay, the end's broken off that pencil. Let's find center. Put a divot in with a scratch hole. All we need now is to put a compass in there and draw a circle. There's something so satisfying about working on a night, getting an hour or two in the shop, away from the world, away from the telephone, computer, email, projects. Okay, now we'll set the bandsaw off and let's trim out a couple seconds. inside now and finish it off. So now we'll take her out of the chuck. I've given it another light sanding, and we'll mark it out for the sound holes. All the holes are marked. Now we'll just drill them. I'm using, again, a 3/8 Forstner bit to drill the holes. And my bride just called, wondering when I'd be in for supper. So I better get this done quick. Well, another glorious Saturday is upon us. It's actually a pretty chilly Saturday for this time of year for us. Normally things are starting to green up and warm up. Well, the ground was frozen solid again this morning, and I think it's about +2 right now. Quite a breeze outside. Anyhow, I've been working outside, working on our wood splitter, servicing it, same thing with the sawmill, and getting ready to saw a few logs. And I was thinking about the turkey calls the whole time. Yesterday, I, using a CNC plasma machine, cut out some friction discs and some soundboards out of aluminum. All I have is 1/8 plate, and from what I read, 80 thou is the desired thickness, but we're going to give this a try. So I found some dowel, some different sizes, and I gave them a quick scratch, and I know they're not the right length, they're not tapered or anything, these strikers, but it sounded pretty squeaky. I'm hoping it sounds a lot better when it's in a pot. But I got thinking about the box calls I make, and all my box calls, the friction surfaces here and here, I use chalkboard paint for them to put the slate on them, and it seems to work really well. So on these two here, the first two I make, I'm going to coat one side of the aluminum disc with blackboard paint and see what that sounds like. And that's what it looks like. So I'm going to put it on top of the wood furnace. Hello folks. Well, we're back out in the workshop tonight on a chilly spring evening. Our temperatures here are hovering about 10-11 degrees below seasonal average. But no doubt you can see over my shoulder there that wood furnace pumping out the heat. Feels great. So last night we finished turning this pot. Tonight we're going to glue in the soundboard, and if time allows, the friction surface. And while that glue's curing, I'm going to work at turning a striker in the lathe. So let's get to work and have some fun. Here's a moment of truth. How close can I drop that to the center? Oh, about that close. And I think that did just fine. Put a clamp on her. And here we go. The soundboard is glued in place, roughly centered. And we'll put it up by the furnace so it gets lots of heat to help that glue cure relatively quickly. And here's the piece of cherry we're going to use to turn our striker from. And it is 1 inch and 3/32. And that's what we got the fence set at. Let's rip it. Striker number 1. friction surface in shortly after 5 this morning. Let's take her out of the clamp. Let's give it a whirl. So, I've never used a friction call like this, a pot call. I've always used a box call before. But I've watched a few YouTube videos, so we're going to give this a whirl. Let's try a yelp. That's not too bad. Let's try some cutting. How about a purr? That's not too bad. I'm really happy with this. I'm sure looking forward to taking this turkey hunting in about 2 weeks. Actually, a little over 2 weeks. It opens in 2 weeks tomorrow, but I'll be hunting on Saturday morning. I'm going to take this to the woods along with my box call, and we'll see if we can call in Mr. Longbeard. Well, folks, thanks so much for tagging along this journey. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this pot call. We look forward to seeing you again out of the house with Paul.